Welcome everyone to ISC's Lunch and Learn today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sherry Woodrick. I am an ISC Senior Account Executive, and with me today we have Charles Hood. He will be our keynote speaker, and he is ISC's Senior Programmer Analyst. Charles and I are super excited that you are with us here today, joining us on this very unique summer journey that we are embarking upon with the Infor CPQ solution. We are basically doing something that has never been done before, in that we are asking you to provide us with some basic information, some data, so that we can help build a prototype for you. And that will help you determine exactly how a CPQ solution could work for you. So just a couple of topics before we get started, just so you know, everyone is in listen only mode. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to use the chat button on your screen. That will log a question to us. We will hold those questions until the very end, so as not to interrupt the flow of the presentation, but we will have a segment at the end of the session to review all of the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and advance my screen and just touch on the agenda a little bit. So I am going to be providing a brief overview of what this journey is all about. And then I will talk about this particular session name, which is Quotation Automation. And before we actually do that, I'm going to take a quick poll from our audience to ask a very important question. And this will help us a lot in determining why you're here. And then I'll turn it over to Charles, who will run with the presentation for the majority of the session. And he will start out by showing you some demonstrations of some pretty cool aspects of the Infor Enterprise Quoting Solution. And that will help start us building the building blocks for your prototype. And then he'll turn it back over to me, and I will assign your homework assignment. Don't worry, it's not too difficult, it's pretty simple. But for the first part of the building block segment for building your prototype. And then, like I said, at the very end, we will have a Q&A. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn off my camera so it's not too annoying. And I am going to continue with the quick overview of the journey. So in case you didn't have time to read up on all the aspects of the journey, either from our website or our emails, I just want to take a couple minutes to highlight the features or aspects. So here we are today. We are in journey number 1. Like I said, it's quotation automation, and we'll get into that, what that means in a moment. And then in 2 weeks, we will have our second session where we're going to take a deeper dive into the interactive visual engagement aspects of Infor CPQ and augmented reality. So these are some really cool things. You won't want to miss that in 2 weeks from today. And then 2 weeks after that, on August 10th, we'll have our third session, which will actually talk about the integration aspects between CPQ and XA. And then 2 weeks after that, on August 24th, we will have our fourth and final webinar session, and it will be an open mic session with customers who have already taken the CPQ journey, and they will be able to answer all of your questions that you may have for them as actual users of Infor CPQ. And then finally, the final destination of this journey ends at the InPower conference in Milwaukee, September 20th through 22nd, where we will have taken all of your data, have built your prototype, and we'll have a hands-on workshop to demonstrate what your product actually looks like in the CPQ product. So pretty cool stuff. No one's ever done this before, so we're boldly going where nobody has gone before, but we're very excited about this and can't wait to show you your own products in CPQ. So a little bit more about building out your prototype. I like to call this a little mini proof of concept. But basically, we're taking your data, your bills, your routers, photos that you provide for us, preferably 3D CAD drawing, but if you don't have 3D, we'll take 2D. And then a short questionnaire on how you would like CPQ to work with XA. And all of these services that we will be providing are at no charge. So this is a freebie, so to speak. And like I said, the workshop will be on September 22nd at the InPower conference. Where you will be able to participate in a workshop to see your prototype in action. And for every participant who participates in all 4 sessions and comes to the conference, we have a very special gift bag that we would like to extend to you. We're calling it our Summer Series swag bag. And it includes a bunch of good things like a 36 can cooler, a beach blanket, an insulated tumbler, sunglasses, and a $35 gift card to Craft Shack to be able to fill your cooler with your favorite beverages. Again, it's just a thank you gift from ISE and Infor for every participant. All right, so you're probably wondering, what does it mean, quotation automation? That's maybe a term you've not yet heard. But before I jump into that, I'm actually going to submit a polling question and trying to understand why you are here today. There are a lot of answers to this polling question that I'm launching. So some may or may not apply, but you can check all that apply to your reason for being here, whether it's you have complex products that are difficult to customize or quote. Are you looking to get more visualization of your product on the website to make it more engaging? Are you trying to differentiate your products from your competitors? Is it taking too long to get quotes out? Do you have estimating errors? Do you have high turnover within your organization? Do you not have an e-commerce site today that you would like to deploy? So please go ahead and check all of those that apply to your business. And I'm just gonna give that a couple minutes for everyone to take their time to read through those. And if there is an other section at the bottom that if for some reason none of these are the reason why, you can use the other, you can type in other. If your boss is forcing you to be here, you can type that too. Hopefully that's not the case. Looks like we're still getting some good responses. Lots of too many manual activities in our quoting process. That seems to be the majority of the reasons. And that's perfect because we can certainly help streamline those processes with automating the quotation process. All right. Very good. So I think we've gotten a good number of responses. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Thank you. All righty. Now let's get into the concept of quotation automation. What does that mean with an enterprise solution? You may have figured out that the CPQ acronym stands for configure, price, quote. And Infor CPQ solution is actually an enterprise-wide solution that can help you automate and streamline many of your quoting processes. So starting with the C, which stands for configure, this part allows your internal reps or your external dealers or distributors to configure not only your complex products, but also any systems of products, which could even include services. So the configurator can help guide your customers to the proper selections with your complex items, as well as assisting with ordering replacement parts, and even help with cross-selling and upselling products. So the next letter is P for pricing. And the concept here is the Infor CPQ can help extend accurate pricing to your end consumers, which can incorporate things like promotions or discounts or adders. It can also keep track of your costs and margins to ensure that your complex items are profitable. That's really important to the CFOs of your organizations. And then lastly, touching on the Q stands for quotation. And certainly with the Infor CPQ solution, you're going to see some beautiful proposal documents. But all of your sales channels, whether internal or external, can easily learn, and they can utilize the self-service aspects of the quoting, which will help them be more productive and efficient in managing both the simple and complex quoting requirements of your business. Now, the next aspect that I'm going to touch on is where the Infor enterprise quoting system really shines. The ERP integrations for the quote to customer order conversion process, including the manufacturing order data for the shop floor, are all very integral and part of this enterprise solution with Infor. And then add to that the really cool functionality of the 3D visualizations and the augmented reality. And again, that's where Infor really shines. So while you may have many of these processes already existing in your organization today, but they may not be automated, or they may rely on multiple technologies like Excel or Word, or maybe independent, isolated, non-integrated configurators already. Or they may not incorporate the 3D visual content or augmented reality. So that's how we can help you. And this is a customer feedback chart from Gartner Peer Insights, which I just love showing, because this shows Infor compared to its competitors in the CPQ environment. That's Oracle, Salesforce, and Epicor. You know, the overall ranking rating that the customers are giving Infor CPQ is unbelievable. It's 97% are willing to recommend the solution, compared to 79%, 80%, or the worst yet, 67% are willing to recommend. So clearly the Infor CPQ solution ranks very, very highly and very, very favorably with its customers. So we're very proud of that. All right, just a couple quick slides here, and then I'll turn it over to Charles, just to kind of orient you a little bit to some of the topics that Charles is going to jump into. But the Infor Enterprise solution makes it very, very easy to select, configure, and price your products with having the visual, powerful aspects on the websites. So in this example here, you can see, you know, how a high-end car maker can use some of these techniques to guide the buyers through the selling or the selection process. They're incorporating images, radio buttons, drop-down buttons, all the things that are very, very intuitive to us. And honestly, many of us today are already using simple configurators all the time in our day-to-day activity, not just to order cars, but even to order simple things like sandwiches or pizzas, right? I mean, I go to Marco's Pizza and I can order my pizza online, selecting the thickness of my crust, which toppings, if I only want them on half. And of course, I always get upsold by suggesting the chocolate lava cake is my dessert, and I can never say no. So we're already all doing those kind of things. The other really cool feature of the Infor CPQ is this whole visualization, the 3D visualization aspects. This allows your sales channels to be able to visually see exactly what they're going to order, so nothing left to the imagination. And as an additional cool feature, your end consumers can also order replacement parts by, when they see this exploded view like this, they can actually just click on the replacement part that they would like to order. So both from an initial ordering perspective to make the selections of exactly how they want their hot tub in this case to look, and then later on maybe coming back and ordering specific replacement parts. So really cool stuff. And as you can see, Infor's enterprise solution can also run on any device, anytime, anywhere, whether it's a laptop or a tablet or even your cell phone. And you can see that these applications are also rendered differently for each device to provide the best user experience for this particular device. And certainly the remote workforce has increased in recent times, and mostly from COVID, and certainly the Infor CPQ solution can help support the remote force as well. All right, my last slide, and then I'm turning it over to Charles. So as we talked about, the Infor CPQ application can create these beautiful, compelling proposals for your customers. They can include things like cover letters, spec sheets, warranty information, terms and conditions, the drawings, the 2D drawings, marketing collateral, signature pages for the contracts, etc. So these proposals are just, these pages of the proposal are just byproducts of the process. So very cool stuff. All right, so those are some of the aspects of the quotation automation concepts. But now for the real exciting part of this session. Charles is going to take it over from here and jump in with some really cool demonstrations of enterprise quoting. And throughout the process, or throughout the presentation, he will start highlighting some of the building blocks that we will require for you to, or for us to build your prototype. And then when Charles is done, he'll turn it back over to me, and then I'll review your homework assignment and answer all of your questions. All right, Charles, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
I can see it.
Great. Yes, my name's Charles Hood. I know some of you that signed up for this, and for those that don't know me, I am a senior programmer analyst at IAC. I've been with IAC about 11.5 years now, and I've been working with CPQ back when it was called By Design from about 2011, late 2011 onward. So I've seen it evolve, and now the cloud version, we're really excited about the cloud version of CPQ, and that's what we're going to be showing off, showcasing here today, particularly the enterprise quoting component of the cloud CPQ suite. So we'll get right into it. Here's the agenda for my portion. We're going to see cloud CPQ in action, and then we'll kind of then slow down and dissect what you saw in the initial demo so you understand each part of it, the visual content that we access, the pricing, the quotation augmentation, and then converting quote to sale orders. So that's what we have coming up. Okay, so let's take a look. So pouring over my web browser. So what we're sitting on here is the home pages for InfoOS for our cloud CPQ instance. And we have a nice little welcome message for you all. We really appreciate everyone participating today. So I'm going to go to my application launcher, and second screen, there's enterprise quoting. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start with my quotes. And this can typically be made the landing page for a user. Now I'm set up kind of to mimic being a sales rep in this particular instance. So I'm seeing the quotes that are associated with my profile, my user profile, my user ID, since I'm set up as a sales rep here in this particular environment. And so here's my existing quotes. I have some orders as well. We'll talk about converting orders to quotes in a little bit. You can see how these first two have been converted to orders. They're showing ordered. Then I have one that's closed, but it's not yet converted to an order. I have a couple that are open, that are still active, and can still add items and adjust pricing and things like that. And then I even have, if I go far enough down there, a few that are expired. So they're old enough and nothing was done to them, so they expired just like quotes can do in real life, but a lot of them I've done something with. All right, so we're gonna create a brand new quote. So I'll click on new quote. I'm gonna select one of my customers, and I'm gonna select the Southern Building Supplies, because I'm actually gonna be configuring a couple of doors for like townhouses. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking at here. All right, so I've associated myself with Southern Building Supplies. I am going to enter the PO number, and amazingly enough, they have a system a lot like an old version of XA, and their PO numbers are 7 digits, P beginning with 6 numbers, and the version number, so very similar to XA. Okay, so that's what I have there. Then I can also go into other header details for this quote header. I'm going to give this a more specific name. And let's say maybe date stamp it and version control it. So I'm doing that. I have already pre-populated, contact information, ship to information. I'm going to add this to a bigger project, and that project will be added to a bigger job. Okay, very good. We'll come back in a little bit after we do the line items. We'll definitely come back to the comments because those are very powerful and flexible. And let's see, if this quote is 1, they're letting us know that if we win this quote, then the requested ship date would be August 26th. All right, very good. I'm going to quickly look at that. Okay, looks good. All right, so now I have the quote header the way I want it at the present time. So now is the time to add the line items. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Here we go. And I'm going to actually, like I said, these are this is going to focus on doors. So I'm going to, our product catalog is going to come up. So I'm going to immediately jump to my doors section. And I do have one wooden door that's configurable. So we're going to see the enterprise configurator part of Cloud CPQ here in just a second as I click on the configure button. And it's going to bring me up into a configuration session. So I'm within enterprise quoting, but I'm now actually running a configuration session. Okay, so the first thing it's asking me is the type of wood, the wood species, if you will. This does have an info link. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see it gives me samples and then some description. And I'm particularly interested in like the stain color, for example, Maple's warning me about dark stained colors. Oak seems to accept all stained colors equally well. The cherry, it tells me to natural or light stains might work best. So that's very helpful information. You can include things like that in your rule sets. So that's what's called an info link. So I'm going to choose the cherry for the wood. And then based on what the info link told me, I'm going to choose the lighter of the two stain colors, the cider. Okay, I should mention that you notice there's a price being generated as I go, as I respond to the configuration questionnaire. So I can look here and I can see everything that's so far that has contributed to that base price. That, you know, there's an actual base price itself, then the cherry wood had a fee, and now I'm going to add other options. Like I do want exterior treatment because obviously the outdoors. So yeah, that's a good idea. And that brought me to the dimensions, but I do want to go back here real quickly, and I want to look at like the molding styles quickly. So this is real nice here. These have been little samples have been provided for me. I'm going to click on traditional for the profile, and then I'm going to click on scoop panel for that. So I'm good there. Now I can go to my dimensions. I'm all set. I answered everything. And what's going to be happening here is I'm going to be generating this 2D image. And as I make decisions on this particular style and size screen, it's going to be auto adjusting all the numbers for me. So I am going to choose a radius panel, radius top. So there we go, because that's the kind of opening that the door needs to fit into. In this particular area, you know, you got some tall folks, maybe like basketball players. So I'm going to increase the size, 84 inches. You got some football linebackers too. So there we go, a little wider will help. Notice how it's adjusting for me. I'm now going to actually increase the thickness to the maximum that the rule set will allow. If I kind of click on the detail real quick, you notice the base price jumped up quite a bit when I thickened the wood, not surprisingly. Okay, and then, oh, this middle lock rail, let's say I want it a little higher than it is. And notice it jumped up, and then I want it, excuse me, bigger as well. So I'm going to do 11 inches there. Okay, great. Notice how now the 11's here, but it's still the 84 inches high. And I still, you know, I'm at my 46 inches for the lock rail position. So all that kept auto adjusting for me. And remember how I increased the width. Okay, the bottom panel, I guess I can live with a flat panel there. So notice it kind of went away from that raised panel look. And then lastly, I am going to select some hinges. And let's see, I'll go with 4 hinges. And so it's going to, I'm sorry, the hinge size is 4 inches. I could choose a different number of hinges over here. And there we go. So it's calculated exactly where the hinges need to be. And then notice there's an option if I want the hardware shipped separately. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to take one last look at the overview. And then this summary is basically all my answers to all the configuration options. and I can see how I have the price down there in the bottom right. And again, I can see exactly how that price was derived. So now I'm going to click on the finish button, and that's great. So I now have that configuration as a line item in my quote. So let's go back to my quote here. So there it is as a line item. If I wanted to, at this point, if I wanted to adjust the pricing, for example, even more, then I could choose to adjust the price. I'll show you what's going to happen though. And so let's say I want 7.25%. So I'm going to try to get away with that. Let's see what it does. Yeah, so it's telling me I'm exceeding my discount amount threshold. I can submit this for a pricing approval, kind of a pricing override, a lot like, you know, a cashier at a grocery store and with getting the manager to do a pricing override. But we can make this as sophisticated as we want. It could be a person that's in one of the approver groups could simply need to look at it, or we could actually kick off an approval workflow. So Ion, Infor.OS Ion is part of this whole collection of Infor.OS applications that were in that original launch screen that I chose. So Ion is there, and Ion is responsible for communication between applications and also for event management and sending alerts and kicking off workflows. So I could have a pricing approval workflow, and that could be as sophisticated as I want. It could involve sales folks, accountants, you know, maybe a VP, et cetera, depending on, you know, the quote amount and the percentage I'm trying to get the discount for. So we could do that. We could generate a price approval workflow. The other workflow that comes built into enterprise quoting in Cloud CPQ is a workflow, an engineering approval workflow for configurations. So I'm actually not going to do this. I'm going to keep that. And then just for this case, though, I'm going to help them out a little bit by giving a little this mandatory markup that we have due to supply chain issues. I'm going to knock that down a little bit because I am authorized to do that. Okay, so that's great. Now what I can do, add other items. You saw the pricing. I can go back into the header details, but what I'm going to do at this point is generate the customer bid document. And here we go. So and this, Sherry showed you a real quick example of a very nice document. If you want to build it up to the level like Sherry had, then you need to use what's called the Enterprise Quoting Designer. And that tool, that's kind of a programming tool, if you will. That tool will allow the layout of these screens and the generation of these documents. You can basically take control over every element on the screens and on the generated document. So I'm just going to populate this real quick. All righty. Great. All right, now I want to take a quick look at this, what this is going to look like. All right, and there we go. Maybe I'll increase the font size. So one of the first things, of course, you'd want to do with Enterprise Quoting Designer would be to put your company logo instead of Infor. So the Infor logo is nice, but you want your company's logo there. So, and then it's pulling in, the rest of this is pulling in from EQ data, as far as bill to, ship to, all the I'm the sales rep here and all that, of course, the dollar amount, the job and the project that I assigned it to, and all that. So here's a spot for the customer to accept it, you know, sign and date, so that we know the quote's been officially approved. And then there's that little drawing. Another thing I would do if I was going to go into Enterprise Quoting Designers, I'd make this a little bigger, probably move things around a little bit, move some of these wording over a little bit, and that's all possible. But it is there, and I just want you to see that those numbers that were being automatically calculated are indeed being carried over. So that is that. That's the bid document. So I'm going to save that to the quote. Now it's going to be linked to the quote. And you can see how I got this document here. And then you may remember I still have the attachment. Let's see, did I do that? No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm going to add an attachment to my line item. That door, I have this little file of a radius panel door, just in general, to help everyone visualize the content here. Then that can be utilized however you want. And so that's, there we go, that's showing up. I usually refresh it just to be sure. Now I have an attachment on that line item as well. Okay, great. So things are looking good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a non-configurable item, an accessory, if you will. And if you want to get sophisticated, the Coleman AI that it comes with InfoOS can actually be suggesting to your customers, like Sherry was mentioning, about alternate items and upselling and things like that. It's pretty sophisticated. Okay, I'm going to look at my door accessories. So I have this little widget here. And remember, there are 4 doors, so I'm going to need 4 of these. And these could be, I don't know, maybe an enhanced doorbell or security camera or whatever. And so I'm going to add that to my quote. Okay, great. So that line item was added. So there's my configured door, 4 of them. And there's my 4 of my widgets. Okay, now what I can do, I'm basically going to say I'm ready to go. I do want to add some comments. For example, these are general header comments. Customer will notify if hinges should be shipped separately. Okay, we do not want customer to become unhinged. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, fix my spelling. Great. Oops, there we go. Great. All right, terms have been discussed. So there's a terms level, and let's say pricing approved by VP. Okay, so there we go. Now I have comments at those 3 levels. All right, very good. So I'm good to go as far as I'm concerned. Now, as the sales rep, I think I'm ready to deliver the final version of the quote document. So I'm going to do that. There's going to generate it again. And just going to give it a name again. Remember the first one, I had the 01 at the end. Okay. Great. All right, I'm going to preview that one, just see how it looks. The big change here, of course, the widget will be in there now, and then the comments as well. So there's my comments. All right, my little pun about the hinges, unhinged, I'm sure you saw what I did there. The door is still there, and then there's my widget. Okay, and then of course I have an updated total at the bottom here, and that's my quote document, which I could then email to the customer, CC, my manager, or whatever I wanted to do, however I wanted to handle that. I'm going to save that to the quote though, so that I have the most recent document attached to the quote. Okay, that's pretty much it for now. And let's say the quote gets won, that we win this quote and the customer returns the form signed and dated. They tell us to go ahead. We can meet that ship date that they requested. You may remember I populated that, August 26th, everything looks good. So now what I can do is convert this quote to an order. Yes, I definitely want to do that. And it's now going to become an order in EQ. Notice I've jumped to my orders, and there it is as an order, as an open order. And then I can now click place order, and that kind of locks it in. And if I were integrated with an ERP solution, which we're hoping to hear very soon, that Cloud CPQ and XA are integrated, then the documentation tells me there'd be a submit to manufacturer button. And that's when Ion would take that order and pass a process sales order BOD meaning business object document, to XA. XA would then receive it in through System Link, and then we would have a customer order created in XA. So that quote to the order, then the order to an XA order, all that would be automated with no one having to rekey anything or touch any of that. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you there. now we need to kind of dissect what just happened there. So I'm going to start right from the beginning. So I first was at the home page, and then I opened my application launcher and I chose enterprise quoting. There are 10 other Infor.os applications here. Document management had a role to play there because those images were being stored there as a image repository. And then I mentioned how Ion Desk can be used to generate workflows. And of course, if you have a workflow, then Mingle gets involved and you get notifications and task alerts, things like that. The CPQ suite itself would then be this configure, price, quote, the CPQ workbench, the analytics, the EQ that I just showed you, and then the enterprise quoting designer. So yes, how sweet it is. So CPQ Cloud is indeed a suite at this point, and here, those are the 5 components. And the enterprise quoting is the part you just saw. And I mentioned that there is a design tool to control the look and feel of EQ, and the other 3 we'll be getting into more in week 2 and then week 3 of this summer journey. As far as integrations, Cloud CPQ definitely integrates with ERP packages. Again, we're waiting for that glad day when we hear that it will integrate with XA. And of course, I'm referring specifically to the Cloud CPQ. The on-premise CPQ already integrates with XA. And like I said, I was doing an integration with on-premise CPQ and XA back in late 2011. But we're specifically here today focusing on Cloud CPQ and the EQ component. So we're hoping to hear the good news about that very soon here. It definitely integrates with CRM packages as well as e-commerce, business to business type things, and then engineering packages like SolidWorks as well. Throughout this summer journey, I am going to try to discipline myself to use the correct nomenclature. So when we're in the actual configurator, that's now called EC, or Enterprise Configurator. So that's the configurator tool itself. Enterprise quoting is that web-based quote order entry portal that we just did a demo for. And then CPQ then is now the name for the whole connected suite of applications. With the on-premise, CPQ tends to just be the configurator itself, but with the cloud, it's now the name for the entire suite because there is the P and the Q, not just the C, your pricing and quoting as well as configuring. So I'm going to try to use this correct nomenclature, and I'm going to make myself stick to it. Okay, now how did I even access enterprise quoting or the cloud CPQ in the first place? So there's basically 3 ways to do it. You can have direct access through your cloud-based URL that Infor provides you. Simply enter that URL in a web browser, set it up as a favorite, that kind of thing. Also, Infor has a user interface where you can get pop-up access to EQ, Cloud CPQ. And I've seen that, the analogous version of that in the on-premise version, where you can launch, if you have XA running within Infor.os, then you can launch a configuration from a CO line item, and then the CPQ window pops up right next to the XA window right there in Infor.os. So there's that kind of thing going on in the cloud as well, though even better. And then there's a custom user interface where you can tie your EQ Cloud CPQ to your company's website. So that is possible as well. Sherry referred to this. So EQ is available. You can access EQ from mobile devices. You can look at and update quotes, orders, and projects from the Infor Go mobile app. And that has the version available on the Android App Store and then the Apple App Store for iPhones and iPads, etc. So anywhere where you have a mobile device and you have access to the internet, you can have access to enterprise quoting. You can check quotes and orders, projects, things like that, or update. So these screen prints are an actual configuration. I was doing one of those doors, and I captured my screens off my phone as I was going along. So you can actually create quotes, if you will, right from your phone, if need be. One of your sales reps could do that. So this is a slide that shows kind of the overall big picture. So you can see the red rectangle is in for configure price quote. All the boxes on the bottom, I've already mentioned, you can link the cloud CPQ to your company website. You can link it to an e-commerce software package, a CRM software package, engineering, CAD, PLM, and then of course ERP. And again, we're hoping to hear the good news that XA is one of those ERPs. And so in for configure price quote, you have your sales and marketing, the driving interest, talking to leads and opportunities and whatnot. And then when you're ready for an actual quote, then the quote sell buy process can happen within enterprise quoting, and then you can sell, transfer that order to your ERP where it can then be manufactured and shipped and completely fulfilled. So that's where CPQ fits in. All right. Now we want to talk about kind of the product data and the images a little bit. So who owns the product data? And of course, you can set up products manually or load them from Excel into EQ. But if you're linked to an ERP package, the ERP package is the system of record, and you should populate EQ from ION using a data flow and sync item master BODs. Again, BODs are business object documents. That way XA remains the system of record, and the item numbers, the descriptions, things like that will be the same between XA and EQ. Loading product images into IDM is very straightforward. Basically what I do is I have my web browser open with IDM, and then I have like Windows File Explorer, and I have the little thumbnail for an image, and then I just drag it right over to the little box where it tells me to drag it, and then it's in IDM. So, and then what I do is I have like a folder, network folder that's kind of synced up with IDM, and that's my image repository. That's where I grab that attachment from during the demo. Of course, once you have that image in your repository, that's great, but you definitely want to add it to the item master record, if you will, the product record. So since this is a racing bike, I attach that there. That way it'll show up for in your product catalog, and you can use it in configuration sessions and whatnot as well. So this is a huge, huge, huge part of CPQ's appeal, is a lot of visually engaging type pieces like this, images, and then Sherry showed you an exploded image. I was showing you my 2D drawing of the window being dynamically updated. All that kind of thing is really what helps Infor CPQ stand out, is all the visually engaging components, and it all really starts with product images being loaded correctly. For each of your products, you definitely want to add them to a category, because that way you can get your product catalog set up really nicely, nice, neat, clean, and organized. So you want to set up categories and add your products to categories. And so you can, once you have categories set up, you can have subcategories. You can go as deep as you need with those. You can set up product filter attributes. That's more like colors, sizes, materials, things like that. So within like my wooden doors, I could have a filter for certain sizes, certain colors, certain types of wood. You can also sort the products the way you want, although I like to do them alphabetically within a category. Then I kind of feel like I know that I'm not missing any, even though doing it the other way shouldn't cause any to be missed, but I just like having an intuitive sort sequence. But if you have a reason to sort them differently, you certainly can. And again, you end up with a nice, much neater and more organized presentation than the standard product list would provide. So a couple best practices are definitely incorporate visually engaging product images, set up our product catalog, and then use also custom product filter attributes to drill down into if you want specific colors, sizes, and materials. And by doing this, you start off your quote creation process for your line items as well as you can, and that way you've drilled down as far as you can. You've given the user a lot of help by doing this. Time to talk a little bit about pricing. Talked about who owns the product information. What about the base price list? And again, that was something that you should load from an ERP such as XA. So it would have a sync price list BOD, and that way you could get a base price list going into EQ. A little bit of price list overview. So every product has to be assigned to at least one price list. So the system has to be able to know, EQ has to be able to know where to pull a price from. By default, all the products are entered into the base price list. So they go there by default. Configured items, of course, have a standard price of 0 since it's each configuration session generates its own price, as you would expect. Each dealer, you can have dealers set up a dealer network. They can be assigned their own price list. And then if you're not using dealers, each direct sales rep can be assigned their own price list as well. Then beyond price lists, and this is where you start kind of sort of mirroring XA price books. It's not exactly apples to apples, and we do have a request for XA development to make the XA price books and the EQ pricing functionality more like apples to apples, but you can end up at the same place. So you can have these discounts that go beyond the price list, and so each customer can have a discount percentage off a list set up for that customer, whether they're a dealer customer or a direct customer. And then the dealers themselves, or even child dealers, you can set up kind of dealers within dealers, if you will. They can have their own discount percentage off a list price, and that would override the customer discount percentage. So you can get pretty sophisticated with this if you start working on the multiple price lists and these different discount percentages. I think you saw me try to get a better discount on a line item than I was authorized to as a sales rep. You may remember it told me to submit that change for approval. So I could have then either gotten someone on the approval list to approve it, or if a workflow was going to be generated, then a pricing approval workflow would have been generated. Okay, and here's the screen where you actually submit a pricing approval request. You can see here the default is 6.75%. I'm trying to get a discount of 7.22%. And so I'm telling you that, hey, I'm the sales rep, I'm the one requesting this. So you submit that kicks off a workflow if you have that pricing approval workflow set up. Okay, we want to talk about quotation augmentation, and we're definitely on the home stretch here. This is going to talk about the documentation and whatnot. I showed you that attachment. I attached that image to my configured door. Really, really simple. You just go to the actions menu for the line item, click on attachments. I remember I clicked on add, and then you tell it, exactly where that image is located, and then you're good to go. And you do need to enable attachments in the EQ preferences. So you need to go to application preferences, then click on features like I have here. And then you need to actually allow or enable, you need to check that box to enable attachments. And then you can limit the attachment types, which of course is a great idea in this day and age, because not all document types are equally secure and safe. So you can definitely limit exactly what you're dealing with for attachments, and any other document types would not be allowed as an attachment. All right, here's a sample of a line item with an attachment. You get the paperclip icon, and you can then click on that. It'll open up the little window, and then you can go, you can see where that attachment's located as far as a folder and things like that. Take a look at it or whatever you want to do. But that's where it all starts, from that little paperclip icon. Okay, talked about comments. You saw my attempt at humor with the hinge comment. So your header comments, you have just a generic header comment, terms comments, and then pricing comments. And so all those are there, and you can be as loquacious and verbose as you want. I don't know what the limit is. I've tried pushing the limit, and it just keeps accepting characters, so that's good. So you can put in as much detail as you need. Also, for each line item, there is a line item comment. And again, you can go into as much detail there as you need here. For example, in this example, I'm explaining a supply chain issues getting maple wood. So I'm explaining what's going on there. So all you got to do there is type in your comment, click update, and that is then linked to that line item. And those comments do show up on that customer bid document. For example, here I'm showing you, I took a snippet of the comments section of that document for the header comments. The line item comments, of course, show up with the line items. You can do version control of quotes. If you want, you can have as many versions of a quote as you need. If one version of the quote is converted to an order, or fully converted to an order, then all the other versions are set to a closed status. So that's nice. It kind of takes care of it. You don't end up with all these orphaned versions of quotes. So you do have version control. And then we've talked about the generation of the document under the print menu. You click generate document, you populate your print options, and then you're good to go. You can then preview it or download it there. And then if you want to, you can come back here and email the document to the customer, to your manager, whoever you need to email it to. And here's just a little sample from the customer bid document we already saw, my little drawing, and then some of the summary of that configuration. Of course, the unit price here in this case, so we only ordered one, so it gave me the price and then a net price. All right, last topic to discuss is converting quotes to orders. So you have two options when you have a quote, and this is assuming that there's no outstanding approvals, so no pricing approvals or engineering configuration approvals are outstanding. If that's the case, then you can either convert the quote to an order by clicking convert to order, or you can do a partial order. So some line items can go to an order and some stay on the quote. That way you can kind of help break up a quote into maybe sub projects, that kind of thing. So that is allowed. Once you have an order, you may remember I had to click on the place order, excuse me. And then that was as much as I could do. And then if you have an ERP integrated, you would have a button for submit to manufacturer. You'd click on that, and then Ion would take the XML BOD, business object document, send it to XA to create a customer order in XA. Real quickly about sending an order, sales order to ERP. Once you've placed it in EQ and you click on submit to manufacturer, Ion then routes it to your ERP. It's a process sales order bot and is a one-way process, as you can imagine, because the ERP is the system of record for the order, but it thanks EQ, says thank you very much with an acknowledge bod for sending the order, and then XA would then take over. So any further changes would take place fully within XA, and of course, picking, packing, shipping, invoicing, all that is totally within XA. All right, and any changes within XA are not sent back to EQ. So EQ sends the order when you click on submit to manufacturer, and then XA owns it from that point on. And I already mentioned how for a quote, the status changes to ordered if the entire quote has been converted to an order. And I mentioned how inactive quote versions would then be set to closed. So your active quote version would be ordered, all the others would be closed. So then that's important, especially if you're using CPQ analytics, you're tracking your win rate for quotes and things like that. That is all that I have for you. I know there's a lot there. EQ is a great product. It was preparing for this session was like drinking from a fire hose, which is a good thing. There's a lot more we can say, but I thank you for your time and attention today. And now, Sherry, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I am going to share my screen now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So that was awesome, Charles. And like Charles said, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg right now. And there's a lot of functionality and you probably have a lot of questions. And Charles, while I'm going through these last couple slides here, if you want to take a look at the chat, I think there's some questions there that maybe you could answer for us when I wrap up here. But so just to kind of reiterate, in case you missed the beginning, the cool part of this journey that we're doing is building your prototype for you. So you can actually see your own products in CPQ. And then the fun part will be at the conference. We'll take advantage of all those advanced features if you have them with your 3D drawings, and with augmented reality, we'll be able to put your products in our conference room with us. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time for all. So the next part of this is just highlighting for you your homework assignment. And don't worry, it's not too hard, I promise. Nobody likes homework, but this isn't too bad. So basically what we're asking you to do your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to pick an item that a customer can order from you that has options, right? Things like color, size, dimensions, optional features, etc. So think about what that product might be. I'm going to set up shared sites for each of you, and that's how we'll communicate and transfer the data back and forth. You'll be able to upload your picture to this shared site. So the first request that we're going to ask of you is to send us a photo of that picture. As you saw from Charles's presentation, we'll take that, whatever it is, JPEG or PNG file, and we'll load it up into CPQ. And then also we're going to ask you to download the template. It'll be, you saw from Charles' presentation that we can load your data via Excel. So we'll have an Excel spreadsheet available to you that we'll download. And that'll help us prepare for the next assignment number 2, which is providing for us what I'm calling a limited bill of material and routing. So we don't want your whole product, because we don't want to really know how to build it, and we don't want your IP. We don't want anyone upset that we're stealing your IP. Not at all. We're just asking for 3 features that you might have, like size, color, whatever, those type of features, and then up to 4 options for each feature. And then on the routing side, we're asking for just up to 4 routing steps, no more. So we don't want all your secret sauce. We just want to show you a couple examples of how that will work. So that's the homework assignment for the next 2 weeks. And again, within the next week or so, I will get you hopefully within the next couple of days, but sometime next week, I'll get the invitations out for the shared site, and then you can upload your pictures from there. Okay. And lastly, don't forget to register for Empower. You can get to the Empower registration from the ISE website. You can go to our main site and go to events, and you'll see the Infor conference listed there. And from there, it'll drive you to the actual registration. So if you have any questions or any problems with that, please let us know. All right, lastly, we're in the Q&A section of this. So Charles, do you have any questions that you could answer for our folks?
Oh, sure. So I typed in 2 responses already. So I was asked about the degree of integration with the automated drawing capability. So our cloud CPQ, we're using the complete standalone capability to do 2D renderings within cloud CPQ. And I'm not an expert on this aspect of cloud CPQ, but your CAD systems can be integrated to a degree, and things can be happening with the CAD as well. It just depends on your level of integration. So that was the answer to that question. But what I was specifically using was the 2D rendering capability built in with cloud CPQ. Of course, cloud CPQ also has a really great 3D rendering and augmented reality abilities as well that we want to show off for sure in the coming weeks. And the second question, and I knew this was coming, so was if I could be a little more specific about when the integration with XA will be available for cloud CPQ. And of course, that decision, of course, that announcement has to come from Infor XA development, but we are hoping that they'll hit the August 2022, as in next month, time frame. But obviously they could make an announcement any day, any time about that. But that's what we're hoping for. So we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a great day. And we want to get our, at least one of our XA environments hooked up to our cloud CPQ just as soon as we hear the news. So
yeah,
are there,
the expectation is we will have this released before our last and final session of this journey, which ends on the 24th. So that's the plan. That's the hope.
Great. Are there any other questions from anyone? I saw that one attendee had their hand raised, quote unquote, in a Zoom meeting sense. So if there's any other questions or issues, concerns, whatever, we would love to hear it. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat box. Oh, is pricing for the suites finalized? I guess that'd be something I need to bounce off of you, Sherry.
Oh, for yeah, the Infor pricing.
Mhm.
Yeah, Infor does have pricing finalized. So I can work with you and Deb Lopez from Infor to help get the pricing for you. It is dependent on certain information such as you know, how many internal sales reps you have, how many external dealers and or distributors you may have. So I actually have a little questionnaire that I put together to kind of help, not only for the pricing for the product, but also for some just basic implementation support. So I can put that up on our shared sites as well.
Great.
All right, I think we are just about out of time, and I think there are no more questions. So again, thank you everyone for participating. We really appreciate your time, and we're really excited to take this next step in the journey with you. And you will be receiving that invitation from me shortly, hopefully in the next few business days. And we'll start working together on your prototype. Thank you, Charles, and thank you everyone who participated. Have a
Yes,
great
thank you, everyone.